Hi, guys. Someday I'm going to be really happy to read aloud to you without a mask and in person. So, before I continue in chapter 9, I'm going to hold up the answer key to the crisscross puzzle. Of course, pause it so you can check your work. All right, how'd you do? Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes when you come up with a word that there are different possibilities. So then you have to try and predict ahead, see what could work. Still, that's what makes a puzzle fun, is when it gets a little tricky. After a while, the car was aired out well enough so the kids sat inside with the doors open. They were still muddling over everything that had happened in the park. It's ridiculous you got in trouble for getting that key. You got us out of here, Winston. You're a hero. What about me? Jake said. Who, you? Mel said. The cheater got away. He gave an exaggerated snort of disgust. Getting yourself beat up is not heroic. Jake laughed and took a playful roundhouse swing at him. Winston didn't feel like much of a hero. He retrieved the key, sure, but he felt bad about getting Bethany's team kicked out of the park. If only that security guard had helped Jake catch the cheater instead of chasing Winston with the key. Then everything would be fine, and nobody would have gotten into trouble, except for that man in the green jacket, the one guy who really deserved it. He looked off toward the entrance. Mr. Garvey still wasn't coming, but he saw Bethany and her team heading in their direction. Guys, look! More happy kids enjoying a fun-filled day of puzzles, Mal said. Of course, he was being sarcastic. Bethany, Elvie, Giselle looked miserable. For once they were trailing behind their teacher, who was storming ahead, probably to her car. Winston watched them for a moment, then said to his friends, Come on, and the three of them got out and walked over to the girls. Did they let you solve the puzzle before kicking you out? He asked, a false cheerfulness in his voice. It doesn't matter, said Bethany, stopping. We're quitting the game. What? Why? Because you got in trouble for stealing the key? Bethany shook her head. Because of what the cheater had. Your teacher said my name was in his assignment pad. She stopped now and faced him. Is that true? Mr. Garvey. Winston could only nod. Yeah, it's true. My name was in there, too. It was? Bethany looked surprised. Your teacher didn't say that. Giselle was looking at Jake's face. Are you okay? Yeah, I'll live. Did the cheater hit you? Jake tried to smile. Not as hard as the sidewalk did. Wait a minute, Bethany said, and pointed at Winston. Your name was in the book, but you guys aren't quitting? She looked at all of them, her eyes shining with accusation. Oh, no, said Mel, I don't think we are. But that's not fair, Giselle said, spinning around to face Miss Norris. We shouldn't quit either. Miss Norris once again hadn't realized that her girls had gotten away from her. In this case, they had stopped while Miss Norris marched on to the car. Now she came back looking frustrated. Her red hair was even frizzier than ever. It looked like she had recently received a moderate electric shock. Girls, I'm done talking about this. Stay with me. Don't you understand what's happening? I'm taking you home right now. But we're quitting for no good reason, said Bethany. There's some strange man out there who means us harm, said Miss Norris, as firmly as Winston had ever heard her speak. I wouldn't call that no reason. Oh, Bethany groused. Don't understand how my name could be in a stupid book. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. I was supposed to go to a wedding, but we couldn't go because my dad got sick, so I got to come here instead. Now my whole team has to quit because I'm actually here? Wait a minute, Winston said. When did your plans change? Yesterday, after supper. So you didn't know you were going to be here till last night? Pretty much. Miss Norris began leading her girls away again. Winston was processing a whole new line of thought. He wished he could stop for a while. Just hit the pause button and sit here on the ground thinking about what Bethany just told him. She wasn't supposed to be here, yet her name was in the cheater's memo pad. What did that mean? He had to ask some questions before the girls were taken away. He chased after them. Miss Norris, were you the one to break the code? You know, the invitation to the puzzle contest? Miss Norris looked at him. Well, our vice principal did it mainly. I was there. We didn't know what it was. A bunch of teachers helped out in the staff room. Did you call the phone number? No, the vice principal did. But you heard him do it, Winston persisted. Oh, Miss Norris took a deep, annoyed breath, unsure where this was going or why she was allowing herself to be interrogated by a 12-year-old. But she said, yes, I heard him make the phone call. At that point, you didn't know who was going to be on the team, right? The vice principal didn't give any names out. No, he just said the name of our school, the answering machine. We didn't figure out who was going to be on the team until later. May I ask you why you're asking this? Well, I'm trying to figure out how the cheater knew who would be here today. Bethany says she didn't know she was going to be here until last night, but the cheater had her name. It doesn't make sense. Miss Norris nodded, but said, it doesn't matter. This has gotten a little too dangerous, and I have a responsibility to these girls. We're not afraid, are we, Elvie? I'm a little afraid, Elvie said in a quiet, serious voice. It's creepy that there's a guy out there doing all these things. It's terrible what he did to Jake. Jake's hands went up to his black eye at the mention of his name. You see, said Miss Norris. No. Oh, sorry. I thought I forgot to hit record, but I'm good. I still don't think we should quit. That's what the cheater wants, you know. He wants us to quit. So I don't think we should, Elvie concluded. Miss Norris was quiet for a moment, as if she couldn't immediately find a response to this logic. And then she shook her head and said, it doesn't matter. We've been kicked out of the park, and we never solved the puzzle, so we can't win anyway. Let's go. Winston again considered giving them the answer. Somehow he didn't think Miss Norris would appreciate that. But then he said, wait, you guys could still solve the puzzle. The girls and their teacher turned and looked. He couldn't believe he hadn't thought of this sooner. Winston dug a piece of paper out of his pocket. Yes, all the words from the Ferris wheel, written in a circle. It was everything that the girls needed. He extended the paper to Miss Norris. Look, you don't need the Ferris wheel at all. All the words are written right here. I can't tell you the answer, because I guess that would be cheating. But you could still solve this puzzle. Miss Norris looked at Winston's extended arm, then took the piece of paper from his hand. Sensing a crack in her teacher's resolve, Bethany said, it's my name in the book, and I don't want to quit. The boys aren't quitting, and neither should we. And if we can solve this puzzle after all. So, Miss Norris, please, let's keep playing. You know, it's my fault you got kicked out of the park, Winston said. It's Bethany's fault as well, Miss Norris said. Sorry, said Bethany. I shouldn't have run away, but please don't make us quit. We'll listen to you from now on. We'll be good. Elvie and Giselle nodded in agreement. Miss Norris did a poor job suppressing a smile, and Winston knew the girls had won. Get in the car, the teacher said. If we all stay together from now on, we'll keep playing. If you run away from me again, that's it. We're going home. And also, you have to solve this puzzle, of course, she added, waving Winston's piece of paper. The girls jumped up and down in excitement. We will, let's go! And they all danced their way through the parking lot. Bethany looked over her shoulder and beamed at Winston. That was thank you enough. As the girls walked down a row of cars to Miss Norris's sedan, Jake said, Oh man, she totally likes you, Winston. Winston didn't know what to say to that and was almost relieved when a voice behind him said, I thought I told you guys to wait by the car. Mr. Garvey was suddenly marching toward them. He looked beside himself with exasperation. Winston and his friends flinched. Mr. Garvey said, I thought I threatened dire, drastic consequences if you boys were not by the car when I arrived. Your car's right there, the boys pointed. Yes, and you're here. Thank you for making my point. Now let's go. We have a lot of work to do. He marched to his car with the boys following. What were you doing back there? Jake asked. Not turning around, Mr. Garvey announced. I thought I had a responsibility to tell the other teams about the cheater. You sure scared Bethany's teacher, Winston said. They almost quit. Almost? She said she was taking the girls home. They changed their mind, Mal said. They all saw it right then. Mr. Garvey knocked his fist against his leg and shook his head, an expression of frustration. Winston and his friends traded a few charged looks. Winston said, Did you want them to quit? Mr. Garvey tried on a smile. I didn't try to talk them out of it, if that's what you mean. You boys left all 4 doors wide open and the trunk? Oh, this is great. Mal said, We're airing it out. Mr. Garvey shook his head and got into his seat. Winston took the passenger seat next to him. Did anybody else quit? Said their teacher, starting the car. Did any of the other teams quit when you told them about the cheater? Mr. Garvey said carefully. The other 2 teams decided this fellow maybe made things a little riskier. Come on, Mal and Jake, get into the car already. Mal and Jake slid in. Well, who else quit? Winston asked. Mr. Garvey backed up and the car bounced in the grassy field. That private school that dresses fancy. What's their name? The ones we met in the maze? DeMilla Academy? Yeah, that's right. Their teacher agreed that his students' safety had to be considered, so they bowed out. So did another school. New Easton Junior High. The girl in that team apparently had her own run-in with our friend. Frightened her quite badly. Winston knew that would have been Chrissy Wong, who'd been locked in the bathroom. Jake asked, Did you show them the stuff to warn them about the cheater, or to get rid of the competition? There was a sharp tone in his voice. There was a brief snarl of traffic at the exit. Mr. Garvey used the opportunity to look at Jake. I did the responsible thing. I told them about the cheater, and that he had some of our names and license plates. That's all. Now, let's move on to the next puzzle, and let's win this contest, shall we? He turned around in the driver's seat and zoomed out of the park, as if hoping to leave this conversation back in the parking lot. The boys got the message, and a strange, tense silence filled the car. Winston watched the road go by. Mr. Garvey was right, sort of. They had to tell the others about the cheater and the notes that were in the book. But he had the vague idea Mr. Garvey did more than that. Winston could easily see him presenting the memo pad in such a way as to convince the teams to quit the race. 3 teams out of 10 had given up after Mr. Garvey spoke to them. Bethany and the girls changed their minds soon after, but still, Mr. Garvey sure had a talent for getting teams to drop out. He wants us to quit, That's what Elvie had said, revealing the cheater. And she was right. Who would be happiest about seeing teams drop out? The cheater, and whoever the cheater was working with. Was there a chance Mr. Garvey was working with the man in the green jacket? No, stop it, Winston told himself. For heaven's sakes, their team had the first one hit by the cheater when they were given the back tire wedgie. Mr. Garvey wasn't working with the cheater. That was insane. But Winston was sure that his teacher had tried to frighten other teams into dropping out. And that meant, for at least a few minutes, his goals and the goals of the man in the green jacket were the same. Winston glanced at his teacher and decided that bringing up this observation wasn't a very good idea. Where are we going now? Mr. Garvey asked. Where's the next puzzle? Oh, right, I've got it. Hang on. Mal had the computer and busied himself by pushing the buttons. Now we're supposed to go to the police station, a precinct back in Glenville. He recited the address. A police station? Mr. Garvey mused. What on earth kind of puzzle could Simon put there? Maybe they'll put us in jail, said Mal, and we'll have to break out. How far behind are we now? Mr. Garvey asked. What does that computer say about who's winning? Mal pushed more buttons and let out an excited gasp. We're coming up on puzzle 4, right? Listen, nobody solved it yet. The air in the car filled with new urgency. They could catch up. They were, in fact, catching up. This one must be really hard, said Winston. Brendan, Root, and those guys, they must have been there for half an hour or more by now, Jake said. They must be stuck, said Mr. Garvey, his voice as hopeful as a child opening his birthday presents. If they're stuck, and we get there, and figure it out quickly, we are still in the game. His eyes were gleaming. We are still in the game, he said again, as if to say it repeatedly would make it really true. Winston asked to see the computer, and Mal handed it to him. And they are looking at the chart that was on their computer about who had solved which puzzle. Ooh, so a lot of people are tied. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start another video since this one's 16 minutes long. See you in a little bit.